Hello, I'm Kim. This is the Coffee and Craft podcast, a place where I drink coffee and I talk about all things to do with running a handmade business, and I keep you company while you work or craft. And today we're going to be talking about where else you can sell online other than Etsy, because I've held off from making a video like this. I don't think I've ever made a video like this, but I do get asked. And usually I'll just respond in the comments, but it's getting to the point now where I would like to make a video on it. One, so that I can say that I've done it, and two, so that I can use it as a kind of frequently asked question video. So if anybody asks me in the future, I can go, aha, I have a video for that. But also the other reason that I've been holding off making it is because I think when people ask the question, they're kind of hoping deep down that there is a better alternative. They're not just asking for alternatives, they're looking for something that is better than what they've already got. And unfortunately, I'm not sure that there is anything out there that is going to be perfect for anyone, because everything out there has its pros and cons. I'm not going to list the pros and cons for every single platform that I mention. I'm just going to throw some spaghetti at the wall for you, and you can see what spaghetti sticks on your wall. As far as my analogies go, that was not the strongest, but take what serves you and leave the rest. There you go. Now, as always, I have made notes, and like last week, they're pretty and highlighted. However, last week I pretty much ignored my notes for the most part, so I'm not even sure why I bothered, to be honest. But we shall try. So I've listed a few reasons why Etsy might not be a good fit, like we need to remind ourselves. But we're going to remind ourselves because I'm going to pretend that I'm a professional. How am I doing? Okay, I've got rising fees and in bracket rumoured fee increases on the horizon. Don't quote me on that. As I say, that's the rumour mill, and there's constantly rumours about fees going up and them doing all sorts of things. And Etsy like to tinker. They will be doing something at some point, but that's not really a prediction. That's just a fact. Everything will have its fees. Some will have them right up front before you sell, and some of them will be when you sell, which is kind of Etsy's particular flavour. They're very cheap until you start selling, whereas other platforms can be a bit more expensive off the bat, but it's more consistent. I'll get to it. Okay, so yes, the rising fees. The saturation. I mean, the first time I talked about the saturation was years ago, and if I could have looked forward into the future to now to see just how saturated the saturation problem had become, my jaw would have hit the floor, and I would have realised that what I considered to be saturation back then was crowded niches and stuff, for sure. They seem like heavenly days now in comparison to what we've got. The saturation is off the scale. Stolen products, because Etsy seems to be a place where people just go to see what the next best seller is. And it's not just other Etsy sellers that do this. A couple of cheap websites that sell tat that I shall not mention. One rhymes with Shimu, you know the other one. Places like that, they will constantly go and filch other people's ideas and designs. Even the high street. I mean, I've talked about this recently. Once trends, if they last long enough, the high street will eventually jump on and start doing their own version of it. So it's yes, stolen products. I will give something to Etsy, and that is that it seems to be where grassroots ideas emerge, or it certainly has been in the past. So it used to be the place where people would go and watch for ideas, if you see what I mean. So it's a double-edged sword selling on there sometimes. Oh, shops getting shut down. Yeah, that's a huge problem, because while Etsy are trying to shut down shops that are doing this copying, they are actually catching a lot of genuine handmade sellers and other sellers that are doing everything right in their nets and going, ah, well. And also if you have like a greater desire for brand control or shop identity, because obviously Etsy is a marketplace platform. It's not somewhere that you can build your brand and your identity, because Etsy want people to say, I bought this mug from Etsy, not I bought this mug from the mug shop on Etsy. Do you see what I mean? And that's always been an issue with Etsy, to be fair. But like I say, it is a marketplace platform, so it's not just Etsy that do this. It will be any third-party marketplace platform. That's a mouthful. eBay. What's the other one? Amazon. They will do the same thing. You get my drift. And then the last point that I popped in there was that if you are having to drive all of your traffic and pretty much generate all of the sales that yourself on Etsy, you might be thinking, well, what's the point? I may as well have my own website, for example. So that's another reason why you might want to be off of Etsy. However, I do just want to point out that I don't always think that it's a good idea to get off Etsy. I do think it's a good idea to sell on other platforms other than Etsy, because if they pull the rug out from under your feet and take your shop away, which is even if you do everything right is a possibility, you need something to fall back on. Because if it happens to you and then you're scrabbling about trying to find a new place, it's too late. So you need that plan B. You need the safety net. So alternative platforms. I need to put my coffee down because I need to focus. Yeah, now when I was talking about Etsy having a huge advantage, they do a lot of things right. However, there are alternative platforms. Shopify. That's my personal favourite brand of alternative. But I've also put Big Cartel. I used that years ago. Wasn't a huge fan, but why didn't I like it? I think it was because it was the same thing. You had to have an audience that you had to drive over, and I didn't have one at the time. So I've also put Wix and Squarespace. These are all things that you will need an audience of some kind to... What's the word I'm looking for? You will have to drive your own traffic and you will need an audience of some description to do that. It's why I'm constantly talking about building a community or making video content, not just on YouTube, but anywhere, again, your platform of choice. It's because if you are going to run a business online, you have to promote online, and this is how you promote your stuff online. This is usually where I get shouted at because people don't want to promote their businesses, which I understand. It can be a chore, but if you want a business, you have to promote it. I'm sorry, I didn't make the rule. Don't shoot the messenger, please. She's busy trying to read her writing. Then I put, because I felt like I had to, Amazon Handmade. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole, personally. And eBay, again, personally wouldn't touch that. However, I have seen a lot of people in my comments over the years saying they have more success selling their handmade products on eBay as opposed to Etsy. Now, they never say what exactly they are selling, so I'll take this with a pinch of salt. This is why I say that you're going to have to do your own research and look into these things, but it's there. There's also Fair, which is a wholesale website. I did think about that once, and then I sort of laughed at myself and thought, where am I going to be able to make enough stuff to sell it wholesale? Come on, Kim, I can barely keep up with my own stock. If you wanted to make wholesale sales, Fair is a platform that helps do that. It's essentially kind of like the third-party platform for that, but it's there as an option. Now, lastly, I put Go Imagine and Folksy. These are handmade platforms. Wheels falling off so fast. But the downsides are that Go Imagine is US based only. I personally haven't had much luck on Folksy over the years, although I haven't been on it at all in the last few years, so I guess I'm not the best person to speak on that. If you're on Folksy, which is the UK based one, thoughts? Good, bad? Stick it in the comments so anybody who is interested in that can actually get some information from someone who knows what they're talking about. Sorry. All right, then I put use social media. Although I would just like to point out that Instagram, which is something I don't even use as well as I should, is my second biggest driver of traffic to my website. The first being YouTube and the third being Google organic traffic from the free listings on Merchant Center. I think I'm going to get to that though, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I just scratched my face. I'll take that as a hint to get moving. Right, okay, so Instagram and Facebook shops. You can, for example, if you have something like Shopify, you can integrate it with so many other platforms, and it's one of the reasons why I love it. I've integrated it here on this YouTube channel. I wanted to do it on my other one. I've spoken about that. But here on YouTube, you have to be monetized in order to be able to do that. So it's kind of annoying. Anywho, you don't need to be on Instagram and I believe Facebook. So if you have something like Shopify, you can link it to your social media so people can actually purchase on the platform, Instagram, for example, without leaving the platform. And that's kind of important, because the trouble with promoting on social media is that every platform wants to keep you on there. They don't like it when you jump off. So if you can link your cart for hire, whether that's on Shopify or whatever, I think Big Cartel, you can do it on Instagram too. If you can merge the two so that people can purchase from you without actually leaving the platform, better. I've put Pinterest down here, which is, I need to do something about that. That is on my list of things to do, and I still haven't touched it. But I am seeing increasing comments from people saying that it's helping them drive their traffic, and it's a great place to showcase your products as well. I went on it the other day, and it's changed so much. It's a bit scary. They've now got this, like, you can clip pictures and make a mood board. Not sure how I would feel about people doing that with my products. I'm not sure if you can do it with products. I'm thinking out loud at you now. I'm sorry. That's just word salad, but it's just something I noticed, and it scared me, so I left again. TikTok. Yes, you can sell on it. It's not my cup of tea personally, but again, I have seen people say that they have a lot of success on the platform. And then of course good old YouTube, because I had to put that in the list because I loves it. Right, the next section I've got is building your online presence off of Etsy. So we've talked about using other platforms as your cart for hire essentially, and also using social media to promote and maybe also sell. But there are other ways that you can build your online presence and your brand off of Etsy. And one of the ways that I was thinking about doing this, it seems quite dated, so there's going to be a lot of people who just keep hearing this but they're not going to do it, and I used to be one of those people. That's an email list. I know, it seems like yet another thing to do. I think it's because my attitude to email lists is very, very different to what you'll often hear people talking about online. I am a big fan of a small engaged email list. My email list is just a few hundred. It's not big at all, and honestly I need to give it a bit of a clean up, which usually means deleting people who haven't opened my emails for a certain period of time. I don't offer too many bells and whistles either. I offer a 10% discount, so the people who voluntarily give their details to be a part of this mailing list, they're not getting bells and whistles. They know they're only getting sold to, essentially, and they're getting a very small discount. Unfortunately, it's the only discount that I can afford, so don't at me. But it means that they are highly engaged because they want to be there. They want to hear about the products because there's no other reason for them to be there. And this is the problem. When I see people saying you need to give people, what's the term? A lead magnet. Often this looks like a freebie that people can add their name to the mailing list. They get the freebie and then you've got their name. But this does cause a churn, because a lot of people will sign up for the freebie and then unsubscribe later on because they're not actually interested in being sold to. They're not actually interested in the thing. They were interested in the freebie. That is how I attack it. Now, I know that this is not a good fit for everyone. I'm not saying that this is how you should approach a mailing list, because what you will want to do with it and your business will look very different. But I'm just offering that up because I want to sort of try and take out some of the pressure, because I think a lot of people don't touch mailing lists because they think it has to be done a certain way, the way that other people talk about doing it. And you can do with a mailing list whatever you want. You just need to be, what's the word I'm looking for now? Transparent and upfront with people about what it is they're going to get. And the next thing, oh yeah, Google Merchant Center. Right, I need to put my coffee down again. Google Merchant Center, I don't understand it. I've spoken about this before. It's not, if you'll know exactly what I mean if you go and have a look. It's just not intuitive. However, I have muddled my way through, muddled being the appropriate word, and have managed to load up my catalogue of products from my Shopify website to Google Merchant Center, and I can take advantage of their free listings. Now, what that means is that it's essentially getting your products in Google Shop without having to pay for ads. So I don't run ads. I don't run ads on Etsy. I don't run ads for my website, but I do this. And I'm getting less traffic from Google now since they made massive changes months ago, but more than I was a few months ago. That doesn't make sense. I was getting a lot. Google made massive changes. It tanked. It's building back up again. There you go. This is one of the ways that you can get traffic to your website if you have one. Some people ask me how I drive traffic to my website. I've made a video on that. I will link to it at the end of this video. It was one of those videos that I didn't really want to make, but people asked me it a lot, so again, I made a video. If you don't want to watch that video, it is essentially YouTube, my mailing list, Instagram, and that Google Merchant Center. The Google traffic, there you go, that's what I was thinking of. Those are my 4 main traffic sources, and I don't have a huge amount of time to spend on any of them, so I offer this up as a, if this Muppet can do it, yes you can. It will give you a headache and it will possibly ruin your afternoon, but you can still do it. Put that on a t-shirt. The last section I've put here is offline opportunities, and I'm talking specifically about craft fairs, markets, pop-up shops, that kind of thing, the one-on-one selling. There's just so many good things about this. I mean, I think a lot of people are over online shopping following the whole pandemic thing, and also because of the absolute tsunami of scammers and tat that has just flooded the internet. I do feel that that is having an impact on sales as much as the economic crisis and all of the things going on. It seems to be a perfect storm of things that's happening online at the moment. I won't get into that today. I'm going to try and keep this bright and breezy-ish. But I do think the internet is a bit of a mess at the moment, and I do think that does make people prefer one-on-one shopping in a lot of ways. And for me as a handmade seller, that's a pain in the ass because I don't like doing markets and stuff. But if you do, if it's something that you would like to get into, it's great news for you and it's definitely worth looking into. It's just a knack of finding the markets, the craft shows, the events that are going to have the right kind of customer. So say for example you sell sweary keychains or naughty pottery. You might not want to do a church hall that's going to attract a lot of older, more conservative customers perhaps, or indeed a family event that's going to, have lots of young children and stuff who maybe are at reading age and also at that age where they're going to shout things out very loudly, maybe annoying some parents, that kind of thing. You need to be able to match your thing with the footfall of wherever you're going. And I think when people have had bad shows, it tends to be it's not always the case, but it's very often the case that they have just done a show that's not a good fit for what they do. So there you go. That is a brief breakdown of the platforms available to you that are not Etsy. I will say again, I do think that unless you've been thrown off Etsy, I would keep it as a platform to sell on, because you only start paying really once you've sold. You have the listing fees, but they're like what, 20 cents, 20p per listing. It costs less than $1, less than £1 to list one item for a full year, and that's it until you start selling. So if you don't sell anything, you haven't lost a huge amount, unless you are absolutely churning out generic listings just to try and make a big of a net as possible. Then yes, it's going to cost you more because you're doing that, but maybe my face can tell you what I think of that technique. Move on before people shout at me again. Obviously as well, if you are creating a new shop, you have to pay for it now, but as annoying as that is, this is the main way to get rid of scammers and people who shouldn't be on the platform. You have to hit them in their pockets, and unfortunately that means hitting us in our pockets too. So even so, it costs like what, £22? It seems the fee to open a shop on Etsy seems to fluctuate madly. They state it's one thing, but I've seen several cases where people have had to pay more than that. But it's still low in comparison to a lot of places. And if you're starting a business, It's very low. And this is it. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're either starting a business or running one. So £22 to create a shop isn't actually that bad. I feel like I've waffled a lot. I feel like I've made a lot of not much sense. That sentence is a case in point. So I'm going to go. I hope if nothing else I was able to keep you company. And if anybody in the future asks me where else they think that they should sell, I can now point them to this mess. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Ta-ra.